Welcome to the Fit Dads Podcast. I'm Brad Thompson. I'm joined by Ryan Dutton and very special guest today, Ryan. We're joined by Sarah Haynes, who's had a bit of a career change recently, mate, haven't you?
I have, yeah.
Yeah. How's life been? Because for context, you are a yoga instructor, but a former lawyer, which is not a career change we see very often.
No. So I'm not just a yoga teacher though, remember, I'm also a personal trainer as well.
That's me getting told to straight away.
Don't miss that out.
Feisty episode today.
Oh, no, bring it on. Bring it on. I've heard Sarah's feisty side, so let's bring that out today.
Yeah, so I've been a yoga teacher for about 4 years now, personal trainer from the back end of last year as well. And yeah, massive career change. Was a lawyer for over 10 years. A criminal lawyer as well, so you spend all my time in prison, travelling up and down the country representing serious offenders basically. Yeah, and then swapped careers, complete change from chaos to serenity, really.
They're two very different words, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely.
What was the reason for the change? Why did you suddenly feel like I need something more?
I don't think there was, I think there's a shelf life when you do a job like that, first and foremost. So obviously I was representing serious criminals and I was seeing things which most people don't see.
The worst of the worst.
Yeah, the worst of the worst. And you almost become conditioned and a bit blasé after a period of time. So the most serious crime becomes another crime, and essentially I got to that stage where I thought, I just feel like I'm a bit too blasé for this now. I need to remove myself from the situation. And it actually coincided with actually getting pregnant as well. So I decided to stop my career when I was pregnant. So a massive change in my life, from being a very busy lawyer, working 40, 50 hours a week, travelling up and down the country, to being a mum. And then obviously training to be a yoga teacher. So my life went from really fast paced to a lot slower, but obviously still then demanding, but in different ways, having a baby at home basically.
Mm-hmm. Why yoga? Because I'm curious with that. When people decide this is what route I want to go down, were you into your yoga before and then?
Yes, I'd always practiced yoga. I'd always had a keen interest in yoga. Not so much the kind of philosophy side of it, but I used to use yoga as fitness, and I think a lot of people actually start that way. So I used to love to go to a yoga class for fitness. I used to be obsessed with things like hot yoga, power yoga, building strength, all that kind of stuff. And then after I had Esme, obviously started to practice a lot more because I had more time in my hands as well. And then just started to dive deeper, and I found the right teacher. And once I found the right teacher, then I wanted to obviously take it further. The other thing as well is, at the time of being pregnant, I was really poorly. So I had appendicitis when I was pregnant. So my health just went completely downhill, and I spent most of my time in hospital when I was pregnant as well. So my body was just absolutely shot. And what I found was, the more yoga that I practiced, the better I felt. And that kind of really gave me, I suppose, the kick up the bum that I needed to obviously then think about taking it a bit more seriously. And that's kind of where it all started, really.
It sounds like yoga was your little bit of peace in quite a chaotic time in life. Obviously you've got this stressful career, You're now pregnant, you've got appendicitis, and the one thing that's kind of the glue holding it all together is the yoga. So, no shock to hear that you then decided this is something I really want to pursue. Yeah,
definitely. And the more obviously I dived into it, the more I wanted to learn more as well. And it took me on a journey, really. And the journey for qualifying as a teacher for me was actually around 4 years. So a lot of people qualify in a lot shorter period of time. But for me, I wanted to take my time. So I found a teacher up in Huddersfield, was really philosophy based. And I studied with her for a year. And then after being with her, I kind of went back to where I started and actually trained my first yoga teacher training in Rise in Sheffield. Did that there, and then I thought, actually I need to do a bit more in terms of the philosophy side of it. And that's when I then found my yoga teacher now I still keep in contact with, called Danielle, and she's actually an Australian lady. And I went to Italy for around 6 weeks and trained with her intensively in a small group, and then did my further training with her as well. So kind of from taking one course and just become like this obsession almost for 4 years to make sure that I felt in a position that once I was qualified in my eyes to the extent that I needed to be to obviously then go and deliver it to other people.
What was the worry like when you left your job? Were you nervous? Were you like, how am I ever going to make this work? Was it a step into the unknown? Were you well equipped, like mentally, financially for that? What was that jump like?
I think for me, I'm always a great believer that things happen for a reason. So when I changed my careers, I knew it was the right thing to do. Financially, obviously, it was difficult anyway because I was on maternity leave. So if I was going to do it, it needed to be then because I was already having a cut in my pay because of obviously only being on maternity pay. So if I was going to take the leap, I had to take it then, and that's why I did it then as well. Mentally, it was a struggle because obviously I had a small baby at home and I was trying to study at the same time as well. And even as Esme grew, you know, I was still studying as well. So trying to be a mum and then obviously studying as well for something which I was taking very seriously it was draining. It was draining. But equally, like I said, I do think that things happen for a reason. And I think at that stage in my life, I needed to make that change. So
obviously being a first-time mum as well, which is stepping into the unknown, whirlwind of emotions and just change to routine and everything that you're used to. So, it does sound like you did pretty much everything at once, which is the unconventional way.
I did.
Yeah.
I imagine there's loads of mums as well who go through that. I know my wife certainly did, where she was pregnant, she got a lot of time to think, be like, how do I see my life moving forward? Was it an easy decision? Did you think, actually it's between yoga and numerous other things, or?
Well, I think as a woman, and I think a lot of women will agree with this, when you have a child, I think sometimes you feel like you lose your identity anyway because you become from being really career focused to then becoming a mum and your life is consumed by your child. So you do lose, even as dads, you'll feel the same, you know, you're one's kind of personality and who you are is put into question when you have a child because your life has to change regardless of what you think at the time or before when your wife's pregnant or when you're pregnant. You think nothing's going to change and then your life gets turned upside down. So, sorry, what was the question? I'm digressing here, aren't I?
Yeah, probably more about like what made you choose yoga. Like, was it a pretty straightforward decision? Were there other things where you thought, well, I might just dabble in the law side, I might diversify into something else, or was it just, do you know what?
Yes. When I first I did go back to work for about 6 months, but it wasn't in my criminal role because I knew that I wouldn't be able to successfully do that job on a part-time basis. So I had to just knock that on the head and actually went to work in an employment firm instead, dealing with employment law, which I just found really boring.
Compared to criminal law where like
I was
dealing with nutters.
So I was so used to being in such a fast-paced job, seeing lots of different people every single day, to then being sat behind a desk and working on a computer, and I just felt really, really bored. And I kind of sat back and I thought, well, obviously I love my yoga. I've always been into my fitness. Let's see if I can try and obviously make this into a career because actually looking at in terms of what my old job was and what my new job is now, my skills are really transferable in terms of I see different people all the time. I see in my old job, I see different people all the time in my new job. In terms of diversity, again, everything's transferable. So I wanted to kind of use my skills that I'd learned as a lawyer, transfer it over to fitness, and I think it's kind of blended really well.
Mm-hmm. I think I can tell by the numerous chats that I've had with you about like being at station and working on the gym floor and doing yoga classes. I've really seen that, I suppose, diversity and that love of diversity in you. Like, you will talk to everyone, you'll have really diverse chats with people. Humour's great, if you don't mind me saying. I just find that really easy to just connect with people with, and I imagine you can't really have that level of humour in a very serious profession like law. You know, there's only so many jokes I imagine you can crack with criminals.
Exactly.
Whereas obviously in the world of PT and yoga, people must tell you the deepest, darkest secrets sometimes.
And it's weird because I've actually met people who've reformed actually all clients, and they've met me outside of that job, and they've said to me like, oh God, I didn't quite realise that you were like this because I had to be so straight-laced all the time. And then actually seeing them on a sort of general day-to-day level, they're like, oh God, this is amazing. You know, not only I've caught up with you again, but actually I'm getting to see the real you as well, which is really nice.
When you say meeting them on a day-to-day basis, I'm just expecting like some big burly bloke turning up to a yoga class and going, oh my God, it's Steve from that case like 10 years ago.
Yeah, so no, so I'm not like meeting with anything. Let's just clarify that point. So I've had I've represented clients for years, so like maybe 10 years, and I've actually had people reach out to me and say to me, are you that person who used to work at this place?
Oh, wow.
And obviously people who have actually, completely changed their lives, married, children, the rest of it.
Yeah.
So it's in that context.
It's almost like they've changed and you've changed. And you've gone for this like two new people with completely different lives now. Everyone's moved on from that situation. But no, I think this would be hilarious if like one of your people you used to obviously solicit for came into one of your classes.
I mean, that has happened.
Has it really?
Yeah.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
So someone you've defended has come into a class.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was brilliant. It was brilliant because for me, it was twofold really. One, to see that person outside in a normal environment and obviously change their life, which is amazing. It didn't make my day, it made my year when I saw that person. And also as well, it's really kind of it's heartwarming that you make such an impact on someone's life that even 10 years later they still remember and they still come and say thank you, or I just want to let you know that I'm doing really well. So it's a really nice feeling.
I think it probably is quite a good role in that you see the good and the bad, don't you?
Yeah.
With criminal law, because you see people who've at basically the worst time in their life for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it's how they bounce back from it. Some people will just be like that. That's it. I want to move on. I want to make myself better as a result of this. And some people, career criminals maybe, who I'm sure you have repeat clients. People kept coming back. People you knew just would never change. Like people were, and I guess it's the same in yoga to a certain degree. You're going to get people through the door who are at a bad spot in their life. They're coming to yoga because it's a very serene thing to do. They want to de-stress, and they're able to do that through your practice. And then people who you just see who can't really commit to it and aren't really getting it, and we're just not going to change.
Yeah, I suppose that's the same in all aspects of life though, isn't it? And it's the same with when we're coaches as well. We know really the people who want to kind of make a positive long-term change against the people who just want that quick fix. And we talk about this a lot. As coaches, I like to focus on well-being and trying to change people to effectively integrate fitness into their daily routine rather than it being just a goal to achieve. Because the problem is with goals is that once we achieve a goal, what then next? Do you know what I mean? It's all right to have small goals in fitness, like I want to lift this amount of weight, or I want to try and strive to compete in a competition or whatever, but you've still got to have longevity in it. Otherwise, if you don't build it into part of your routine, like brushing your teeth or having a shower, you're just going to fall away and you're going to go back to square one. So whether that's yoga or fitness, it's the same thing really.
True, yeah.
I think it's so refreshing to hear. And you mentioned about like the yoga philosophy. So I'm trained within an inch of my life to pick up on like repeating words. You mentioned philosophy a couple of times there. So for someone like me and Ryan who maybe don't understand the yoga philosophy, Ryan probably more so than me because I know he's had a few yoga experiences.
I've heard about Ryan's yoga experience.
Everyone knows about my yoga experiences.
But no, as far as like philosophy goes, what is the yoga philosophy as a whole, if there is such a thing, and then how's that sort of diluted into yours?
Yoga is actually a Sanskrit word, and yoga means union. So yoga is union of mind, body, breath, and spirit. And spirit could mean anything. It doesn't have to be religious. I think that's what people get wrong with yoga. People automatically presume that it's some kind of practice that involves religion. It just doesn't.
It's a cult. That's it's a cult.
So a lot of my I PT someone who also comes to my yoga classes, and she actually said to me the other day, my husband said to me before she came to see me, oh, you're going to go and visit your cult? And she's like, it's not a cult. I'm literally going to a yoga class.
So what is the definition of a cult? Is it like chanting, sacrificial things involved?
I mean, we do chant sometimes in yoga, so maybe we're halfway there, not even realising it.
Yeah, I would love to know actually, what is the definition of a cult? Because everything gets labelled a cult now. CrossFit's a cult, High Rocks is a cult. it's just, I think it's associated with things where people get very into it, a bit obsessive becomes like the religion, and it's usually like one person dictating what everyone does, I assume, as a brief overview.
I feel like this is where we need a resident Jamie, like what Joe Rogan's got.
Yeah, we
just
do.
be like, Jamie, pull that up.
Yeah.
Pull that up. What's
Maybe
the
one
definition of
day
a cult?
we'll have someone behind the camera.
Yeah, we'll see. But no, sorry, I cut you off there, Sarah, about your sort of yoga philosophy. You mentioned it comes from Sanskrit, was it?
Yeah, so it's Sanskrit. So yoga obviously is absolutely ancient. It's over 8,000 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. And initially when yoga came about, it was pretty much to do with meditation. So it wasn't movement. People used to sit down and meditate for hours, essentially, to try and get clarity in the minds. But now, obviously, as we've kind of progressed as humans, it's more so in terms of movement. But philosophy-wise in yoga, there's different paths of yoga. So that's what the other people don't understand as well. Depending what kind of yoga you practice, it then depends on what path you follow. But for me, I follow a certain path which has rules and regulations, I suppose, in order to tick off. Ultimately to try and reach enlightenment, but no one really reaches enlightenment. It's something like what Buddha would have done. But the goal for me in yoga is just simply to become more present, become more mindful, just be, I suppose, me. And that's a problem that we have in today's society. We're trying to strive to often be like other people. You know, we see things on social media, I want to be like that person. And then we do everything to try and copy that person to be that person. But actually what we need to try and do is come back to who we are. So by using my breath, by using movement, by actually sitting down and just being with myself as well, taking myself away, it brings me back to who I am.
That reminds me of, I listened to a podcast yesterday actually from a guy called Stephen West, I think his name is. It's called Philosophize This. I think you'd really, really like it. Okay. So I'll send that over to you because it sort of talks about that, like people trying to copy, not really being aware of who they are. And I think it's important, like you said, to have those sort of guardrails and be aware that even though there's different types of yogas, you can probably
it's
put your
all
own...
the same thing.
Yeah.
It's all the same thing. So whatever path you take, you're still ultimately striving to become the real version of yourself.
We were talking before about power yoga as well, and like, I think it's vinyasa, is it? Yeah. Do you mind giving us a little bit of a masterclass of like the different types of yogas that there are, just for breaking those down maybe, just for the listener?
Oh God, this could be never ending this. You shouldn't have opened that kind of words.
Sorry about that.
So Vinyasa yoga actually comes from Ashtanga yoga. So Ashtanga yoga is more powerful in nature, and usually it's by set routine. So it's a set routine that's been devised and people just literally go through the pose by pose. It's more flowy, it's more powerful, and it's called Ashtanga Vinyasa. And then a branch off that is Vinyasa. So basically, you're doing the same kind of movements as you would do in Ashtanga yoga, but you're not doing it in the set format that is required for you to do it. Other yogas, and that's dynamic in nature, so it's dynamic stretching, you're loading as well at the same time. And then yin yoga is restorative in nature, so that's, you do yin yoga when you're cold, there's no warm-up involved, you're stretching your fascia and your tendons rather than your muscles, and you're working with your meridians in your body, so trying to balance out your body through the meridians in your body. Hatha yoga is a bit like vinyasa but slower, and it's a bit more gentler. What else can I tell you about? Restorative yoga, use lots of props for that. Again, it's a bit like yin yoga, but there's literally loads.
I've had this described to me before, and every time I nod my head and try and imagine what it's like.
I've got no idea what you're talking about.
No idea. A typical bloke. I'm like, I can't. Unless you did it and you kind of practiced each one for a little bit, it's difficult to, I guess, understand exactly what each one and the uniqueness of each one.
I think the reality of it is that there's just essentially, you can kind of put them, I suppose, generally into two boxes. So there's a few practices which involve dynamic movement, and then there's a few practices that involve restorative kind of poses. So that's the reality. And then obviously there's different kind of versions branching off.
Which is the one where you do deadlifts?
Power.
Sarah's way.
Yeah, that's power yoga.
Which cult is that? Because I'm all for that one.
I do actually use weights in power yoga.
Do you?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, I do sometimes.
Is that a normal practice, or it's something that you've highlighted and been like, actually, that would be quite cool
No,
to do?
so when I trained at Rise, we had a section of power yoga involved in there, and they sometimes use weights there.
Cool.
And I obviously bring that into my practice when I'm teaching, depending on who I'm teaching though, 'cause some people hate it.
Do they?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I still see people like that, yeah, who they come to lose weight, and when I've told them they've got to lift weights, they're like, oh, I really don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on, this is
But
it.
you're not lifting weights in yoga to lose weight. You're lifting weights in yoga to challenge your perspective and feelings in your body, aren't you? So with yoga, you're trying to feel into every movement. You're trying to make more connections, a mind-muscle connection, like we do in weightlifting. But it's not necessary to lose weight. It's to increase that mind-muscle connection.
I can imagine that's good for weightlifting specifically, because if people find it difficult to connect with a certain part of their body, I've always found chest in most people notoriously difficult to activate and get to grow. People just haven't got that feeling. They might batter the legs and be sore for 2 days. We have a massive session on the chest and they're not sore one bit. So something like yoga might just over time help them bring out the activation, we call it, in the muscle.
Definitely.
Have you ever tried weighted stretching?
Yeah.
Like in terms of in the gym. So I did it the other day with some chest flies. I just like did some chest pressing and then just literally laid there with weights in hand. And it's horrible. It's so hard to do because it's just such a challenging thing. And it can be fairly advanced, but I see the benefits for sure.
But that obviously will then in turn increase your flexibility over time. You know, if you hold and then release, then we know that obviously your body's going to register that it's okay to stretch more. And then obviously that's where the full stretch then comes.
You mentioned about some of the instructors that you found. If someone is maybe looking for a yoga instructor or getting into the yoga practice, what could maybe differentiate them between cowboys and people who are legit and know what they're doing? Is it purely down to training time, experience?
No, I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think you might see a yoga teacher who's practiced for 20 years, but they might only teach 5 poses in the class. You know, you do get to see that quite often. It's personal choice. So whatever you, as a person searching for that yoga teacher in order for you to then learn off, you need to find someone who aligns with what your practice is like to start off with. So like I said, for me, when I really felt that I was prepared and ready once I trained with Danielle, because she's very much similar to me. So she works with a lot of mobility, does a lot of strength training. Her yoga is really powerful, but at the same time, she's got a really soft side to her as well. So that's kind of the same way that I practice. So it's like finding a personal trainer. You know, if you want to be, you know, big gains bro and all that kind of stuff in the gym, you're going to find that personal trainer who matches that description. If you want a more softly approach, then you're going to find the personal trainer who's in that domain. So it's exactly the same process, really.
Coming back to the career change, how was it received by family and friends? How was it received by like co-workers? Did they think you were mad? Were they all for it? Did they see this in you, this little bit of stress and pent up energy, and think actually it's a good thing? Or were they like, it's suicide, like what's she doing?
No, I think that I think when people identify you as something, as a label, so like you as a coach, me then as a lawyer, when you have a change, then obviously people do question it because your identity is that person with that job. So it was, I wouldn't say it was difficult, but I think at first people thought that it was just a hobby. Do you know, like when you first train in fitness and like, oh, you'll get over that hobby and you'll find a real job after. You know, we've all been there. You know, do you do that for a living? You know, like when you tell people that, you know, you work in fitness, but it is a real job. And actually, when we do work in fitness as well, we've got to work really hard. You know, we've not got our work handed on the plate to us. So I think family and friends knew that I've always worked really hard. So no matter what I was going to do, I would give it 100%. So I don't think there was any kind of real question about it, but I think most people were just like, why would you want to change a career that you get paid really well with and it's stable? But equally, people know what I'm like, and they knew that what I was going to do, I was just going to push myself and make it succeed.
I think it's difficult for those looking in, is it? Sometimes they just look at the basic, what they're saying, someone's leaving a job they've worked really hard to get to. They don't see what's happening underneath. They don't see all those times when you're like, I'm really not enjoying this. And it doesn't really matter how much money you get paid. Like if you genuinely hate your job, like it just becomes the worst thing. Getting up on a Monday morning is horrible, right?
Exactly. And we were talking about this the other day. I mentioned to you that term dharma. What's your dharma? Do you remember that?
I made an inappropriate joke, as you can imagine, Ryan. But sorry, Sarah, go on. What's your dharma? Yeah.
So your dharma, from like a yoga perspective, is what your true essence is. So like applying that to your job as well. So when you go to work, do you feel completely in line with yourself? Do you like your job? Do you happy to be at work? If you tick all those boxes, then you're great. You're good to go. You know, you found your purpose, so to speak. So when that ever changes, don't be afraid to make change, because as long as you know what you then want, or if you're trying to find out what you want to focus on, just take the jump and do it, because if not, you're going to be unhappy. And we work for a long time in our lives. Why sit in a job where we feel miserable?
Yeah, I sussed that out pretty early on, actually. And I think I've told this story a few times, but I used to work in Meadowhall in All Saints, and it was supposed to be like a bit of a stopgap for 6 months, ended up being like 18 months, and I could just see the kind of months rolling by, year rolling by, 18 months, and I was like, I can see why people get trapped, because you start creating a life around this job that you've got, and it's the one thing in there that everyone's doing the most of.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna set yourself up early, make sure it's something that you like. Not saying that you can't jump ship down the line,
exactly.
but the longer you leave it, I think, the harder it gets for most people. Maybe for you, and being pregnant and taking time away and stepping out and almost looking in on your life for a second, rather than being so caught up on it, was the moment that you were like, actually, I don't want to keep going down that path. It's a fork in the road here, and I've got an opportunity to really change.
But it was still hard. I don't want you to think that I just like, I'm just going to quit my job and financially I'll be okay.
Yeah.
I had to work, when I was training to be a yoga teacher, I actually went to work in hospitality, and I was working 40, 50 hours a week.
Wow, so you had a side job on the side.
It wasn't a side job.
It was your main job?
Yes,
Okay.
it started to be. So I thought, I'll just take this little job at a hotel near where I lived. And I was like, I'll just do like 15 hours a week.
Okay.
And ended up like working 50 hours a week in the end. So I was still working to obviously subsidise my lack of wage when I did go back to work. But you know, because I had that focus and wanted to do what I was doing, then it didn't matter. You know, as soon as the time was right, then I left.
Yeah. Cool.
Do you ever worry that'll happen with the self-employed life? Because I've noticed this with people who maybe change careers, where they might have got this really strong work ethic, where they go, I'm used to doing 50, 60 hours. I can do it. So you've not really got anyone to say no to apart from yourself. Or are you pretty good with boundaries?
I am. So I'm rigid with my diary. Like I've got my set days when I'm off. Cool. If I have to, sometimes I will obviously change if I can't make something and I need to change something around. But no, I am rigid, because I think it's really easy for us to work so hard that we suffer from burnout. And I don't want to be in that position. I've nearly been there before as a lawyer, so I don't want to feel that I want to get into a situation of burnout and then not be able to do anything. So yeah.
I think the big battle with that is if it doesn't feel like work, you feel like you can just do it all the time.
Yeah.
And I've definitely been in that before, where you just say yes to loads of stuff because you do it for free anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
But as soon as you go, actually, no, I can't do this because things are being diluted. And have you had any situations like that where you've gone, why have I done that? Why have I said yes to that? Just almost getting into not bad habits from previous career.
No, I think I'm just an optimist. I am an optimist. Yeah. So if a situation comes my way and I think, actually, I could really learn from this, or I've not done this before, I'll do it, because I just love to have those new experiences, obviously to learn from experience as well. If it's something I've done 1,000 times before and I'm not really that bothered, I'll just say no. You know, you've just got to be really kind of rigid with your time.
Would you say you've always been like that, just saying yes to stuff you can learn from, or is that a bit more of a learned behaviour?
No, I think I've always been a bit of a geek down there.
Just try it. Yeah.
Just try it. I'm going to learn something from this. You know, I've always been the same. So yeah, just try something. If I don't like it, I won't do it again.
You're right.
Outside of career, what are you into? What do you do? Let's move away from law. Let's move away from hospitality, yoga.
So obviously work a lot, and outside of work, if I'm not doing yoga, I'm training.
Okay, yeah, I see you in the gym a lot.
Yeah, so
either a weight in hand or on a treadmill with someone.
Yeah. So I weight train mostly 4 times a week.
Okay.
On top of obviously my teaching as well, and then I take my little girl to the Foundry. I love climbing.
Brilliant.
Do like a bit of climbing.
How old's your little girl now?
She's 11.
Okay, so not so little anymore then.
No, so she's 11. So when we can do, we go there. And I just like to get out and, just spend time with family, really. I've got a dog, so I've got a border collie.
Excellent.
So she needs lots of exercise. I live close to the countryside. So for me, to get some headspace and some time out, we just go out.
Collies are awesome. I love collies. My dad had 2 collies, and they were just the most intelligent dogs. He had 5 dogs at the time. These 2 collies are just run rings around the other ones.
Oh, yeah. They're an absolute nightmare, though. I mean, they're obviously brilliant dogs, but equally, they can be too clever for their own good sometimes.
Yeah, but you can see where it comes from. Obviously, years on the fields, being taught stuff and picking it up quickly. Trying to think about other dogs. We had a Westie in the past when I was really young, and that was surprisingly clever, actually. I really enjoyed that Westie.
My mate's
got any animals?
No, I never grew up with dogs. My nan used to have a Labrador called Blade, big United fan. So, so it's what it is. And I've done my Irish impression numerous times to Sarah, but my Irish nan just used to there's one of my long-lasting memories of just shouting this dog in from field, and just used to love it. And my mum and dad, we know, 3 kids. So maybe dogs fell down the pecking order. Did your dad have that many dogs? Even with you 3 as well?
No. This is when he got remarried. Because
okay.
When he was with my mum originally, we had a dog when I was really young, and that was before we were born. And then when they finally got divorced, he was like, right, reins are off now, I can get another dog. And he didn't get 1, he got 5. It was a bit of a right, that's it, I'm making it for lost time here. So, but it was nuts when you went round to their house, and we'd take ours, which made it 6. And they live in a small cottage, so we'd go around there and it's just chaos, dogs running around everywhere. It's just mental. I don't know how they do it. The food bill must be ridiculous for 5 dogs. 3 of them were big as well, obviously. Border collies, and then they had a Labrador as well. No, golden retriever.
A golden retriever, yes, aren't they?
Yeah, and they just you just pick up shoes and just walk around with shoes in his mouth everywhere.
I'd love a Newfoundland. If I could have another one, I'd love a Newfoundland, yeah.
There's the massive ones you could put a saddle on.
Yeah, I've always wanted a Newfoundland dog, Just
imagine, is it the ones that wear the water things around the
No, that's St. Bernard's, isn't it?
St. Bernard's.
Newfoundland ones are are they bigger than St. Bernard's? About the same size, aren't they? They're like bears.
Yeah. I actually, when I used to play football, there was a lad who used to play on our team, and his dad had 2. And he used to just walk them around the pitch. So at any point in the moment, you'd just be looking at 2 horses, basically 2 bears. They're really shaggy, aren't they? So
My mate got a bull mastiff, and he's brought it to football, and his now wife brought it with him. And I remember one game, I just glanced, and she's on the floor holding a shoulder, and this bull mastiff had just popped a shoulder out.
Really?
It was just just massive.
It's a lot more than you think. That I can imagine. Yeah, one of my mum's mates, he come into this meal with a sling on, and he goes, I've done the same muscle everyone does on the deadlift, so I had a decent amount on the bar. He goes, I'm joking. Did it with the dog, apparently the dog was behind him like this.
And
it's just pulled, and it's torn, I think it's something in his bicep forearm. But
I can imagine. Are you finding that border collie quite a calming influence as well, or is she just absolutely mental and brings chaos to your life?
She's crazy. She just doesn't sit down, so she's constantly looking for a job to do all the time, and she's a handful, but I wouldn't change her.
Sorry.
But she'll just sit. If I don't take her out, she'll be on the settee just staring at me like this, waiting for me to do it until she moves. So
what's she called?
She's Betty.
Betty.
That's a cool
I love that.
dog's name.
Yeah, nice.
That's
Betty
cool
and Esme.
Has Esme got good energy as well? Is she someone who just go getter attitude like you?
She has, but she hates fitness though. Absolutely hates fitness.
Does she?
Yeah,
really?
Yeah.
Where's that stem from? Was she into it when she was younger? Was she in sports teams?
No,
like that?
she's just not built that way. She's not bothered.
No,
she's a proper girly girl.
Okay.
Loves doing her hair and nails, whereas I'm the complete opposite, which is fine. That's
my fear with my little girl, that she's not going to be into all the sports. So
you can't force them though. You really can't.
Well, I took her to MMA on Tuesday. I'm not sure she was up for that. But no, she my girl's exactly the same. Proper girl. They go unicorns, everything's pink, flamingos. Look around the room. Do you know what I mean? At pink high chairs. It's just I wanted to understand the greatness of movement and sport, and I guess it's difficult because you can't force it on them, but you can expose them to it.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can just put them in a situation where right, this is what it is. Here's some good people who understand it. have some good teaching. If you like it, great, we'll pursue it. If not, we'll move on. But I think you've got to go. I believe you just got to go through loads of stuff until they find something that they really latch onto.
Definitely. And she does like climbing. So there is one thing, but everything else, she's just like, no, I'm all right, thanks.
Yeah.
I'll take a pass on that.
My missus is exactly the same now. Just no form of exercise does she enjoy at all. She'll do running, but she don't enjoy it. And I'm worried that she's going to be like that.
I think it's very much got to be, like you said, their decision. One of my clients is going through it at the minute. His daughter's 15 now. And he says for the past, 10 years of being at school, every day he's picked her up, sat in car. How's your day gone, darling? Yeah, fine. And now she's deciding, Dad, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give you a debrief of how my day's gone, and then it'll help me learn. And he's just like, God's sake, I've been trying to do that for 10 years. But it's her idea now. So obviously you're running with it. And I guarantee we'll probably see that with our kids. They'll know that the access is there when they want it, which is cool. I like that. What would a Sarah Haynes retreat look like? Because this is one thing I wanted to talk to you about. Is it Serenity?
Yeah, I'm really excited about this, actually. So I've joined forces with Joe Patterson, I think who we both know, actually, who's a really good coach, a passion for progress. And I've known Joe for quite a while, and we've kind of just sat down and said, let's do something together, and we came up with Serenity. So we've hired a really nice mill down near Buxton for the weekend, and we're going to do a yoga and wellbeing retreat in November.
Cool.
Yeah. So it's not just geared. The differences between a normal yoga retreat and our retreat is that it's not just simply yoga. So we've got a lot of coaching things in there as well. So talking about well-being and kind of sit down one-to-ones with people, as well as yoga if you want to do it. And also we've organised a few walks, but we've just got such a lovely setting and a really nice group of people working with us as well. So
just
really
imagining Joe doing yoga. I can't.
Joe's really good at yoga.
Is he? Really?
Yeah, he is. He'll thank me for saying that as well. So Joe's been to quite a few of my I run like day events as well, and he's been to quite a few of them. He's been to quite a few of I run like yoga nidra events, which are like restorative yoga, and then we like body scan to then try and reset our central nervous system. So often we're stuck in fight or flight to try and put ourselves back into rest and digest. And if you do it right, your body, when you are in like a restful state, you can actually recover really fast. So it's like almost like having like a few hours sleep in like half an hour. And he's been to a few of those, and he's been absolutely buzzing after he's finished. So he can't wait for the yoga.
Yeah. That's what he's doing it for.
Have you done yoga nidra before, Ryan?
What's it called? Yoga
nidra.
It's like a body, and you also call it like a body. So nidra means sleep.
I don't actually know. Like I've done. I went to this class at Ponds Forge because I was a member there at the gym, and they did a free class, yoga class. So I went down there a few times. Been to Rise a couple of times to hot yoga. And I really like that. I like being really hot when I'm working out. So that was cool, but I had no idea what they're called. Couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
No. Yoga nidra is usually like a specific thing. It's not usually as part of a class. It's like an element on its own, basically. It just means sleep. So you put yourself almost into like half sleep position, essentially, whereby you're still awake, but your body's just completely relaxed down into the ground.
That's interesting. So you spend a lot more time lying down on the floor.
So you do. So there's purposeful movement. So obviously you're going through your yoga postures in order to bring your body down into relaxation, and then you come into pure relaxation, lying on the ground, and then scan your body. The weird thing about yoga nidra is that, so like me as a teacher, I would talk people through, so taking your attention to different parts of your body. And then people often say after, oh God, that went really fast. Was it 5 minutes? Like, no, it was like half an hour.
Wow.
And it's just a timing thing that if you are truly relaxed, the time will pass so fast, but your body will be completely regenerated.
Yeah, I think one of the best moments in yoga for me was at the end of a session when you just lie on the floor.
That's Shavasana.
Starfish.
Yeah.
And you just take in everything that happened, and you've been moving, you've been sweating a little bit, working areas of your body that hadn't been opened out for a long time. And there was almost that sense of like, wow, I'm really, really tired now. It almost like it did calm me down a little bit. And that's why I went there originally, just to kind of just chill out and, de-stress. And I used to float out that room. I really did. It was awesome getting back. I used to get the tram down because it's only obviously 5 minutes from here. So I'd jump on there and I'd just get back on this tram, and I'd be like, almost not wanting to get off. It'd be like a real effort to get out of my chair, because I'm so relaxed now. I'm so like just done. And I get back, I had the best night's sleep ever after those sessions. It was great.
And I think the Yoga Nidra stuff's really fascinating to me. I started diving into it, listening to Huberman, actually, Andrew Huberman, who arguably can put you to sleep with his voice. But that's what you mentioned about, it's like getting a couple of hours sleep in such a short space of time. And I think for parents, or maybe new parents in particular, this could be a serious hack for them. And I don't really like that word, but I've just said it, to maybe lean into. Have you seen that a lot with maybe parents coming to your day events and being like, whoa? Yeah,
so a lot of people who tend to come to the Yoga Nidra events are parents, just for complete chill out. And actually, when the more that I practice yoga now, the more that I do that myself. Never used to. Like I say, I always used to be this powerful person, like, let's do a handstand, let's do a headstand. You're like, bam, bam, bam. I used to love all that. I still do. But now I am diving more into that, because I can see, I feel so much better after I've done it. And making myself slow down for me is really important as well, because I am very much on the go all the time.
I remember Huberman saying this, if you're someone who says, I can't spare 5 minutes or 10 minutes, you need it more than anyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I mean, everyone needs that time out in their life, you know. We forget to prioritise ourselves, and that's the problem half the time. And we end up going from task to task to task, whether it be work or whether it be family life or whatever. And then we fall into bed at night and we've not actually truly had any time to ourselves. So a great way to practice Yoga Nidra actually is before bed. Just literally lying on your bed and actually scanning your body yourself. Anyone can do that. So taking your attention from the feet upwards, just drawing your attention to different parts of your body without falling asleep. And that's the thing, without actually falling asleep, and then allowing yourself to fall asleep after.
I just think about all the clients I've got at the moment. There's quite a few who are really struggling with sleep, and I've got just terrible night's sleep. And we recommend kind of the usual stuff, but it only goes so far, doesn't it? Sometimes I like this idea of like a reset on the body. Something that like, it's pent up energy that just doesn't seem to be going away. Something that can just, from some movements and, you know, just flowing around, you can actually get this, like, you know, stress, fight or flight, like you said.
So
completely a reset.
So bodies nowadays, we're just completely stuck in flight or flight, and because we're constantly on our screens, our brains are constantly being fed information, and the more information the brain's fed, the more it wants, because it's greedy. Your brain's greedy and it constantly wants more information. So when we go to bed, we look at our phones, we're reading, or even if we're reading a book, we're still feeding our brain with information. And actually what we want to do is we want to slow it down. We don't want it to carry on increasing in terms of wanting more information. So that's the way to do it. Take your attention away from your thoughts, completely take it to your body, and then your body will relax down.
Just remind me, what's that type of yoga called?
Yoga Nidra.
Yoga Nidra.
Yeah.
Can you, let's say I was recommending someone to this, could they get that similar effect from just yoga itself, or a normal yoga class, or some other form of yoga, or would it have to be the Nidra?
No, so the Yoga Nidra is a specific technique that usually we attach to like a practice at the end. So rather than just coming down, like you said, into Shavasana at the end where you lie down, rather than having your 5 minutes rest, you then have your Yoga Nidra, so maybe for half an hour. But any yoga will bring your central nervous system back down into rest and digest. The issue is that often people come in to practice yoga, and when you first start to practice, you can't take your attention away from your mind. You're constantly thinking. And the way we try and get our attention away from our mind is we focus on our breath. So inhaling at certain points, exhaling at certain points, and then also taking our attention to our bodies as well. So trying to take our attention within rather than up here.
Okay, so maybe any form of yoga to start with.
It doesn't matter whether it's powerful or not, because we're still working through that process of trying to bring alignment back into his bodies. Because there's a science behind in terms of flows, and that's what the other people don't understand. Whatever flow you practice in a yoga class, your teacher will have thought about what areas in the body do I want to work, what energy levels do I want to work, and what do I want to achieve. Whether they talk about it or not, we're still in that process. So you don't have to explain that to students when we come in, but actually there's always a meaning behind what we're doing.
Similar with coaching than what we do. Some clients are really into it. They want to know what we're doing today and why we're doing it. And then other people are like, I'm here. Just let's
make me
it.
Do it.
Yeah, let's just do it, kind of thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Are there any common questions that you get asked, or maybe myths you can sort of bust about yoga? Like, what do you wish more people knew about it?
Yeah, so I actually did a post on this recently because I got fed up of asking people asking me, you don't have to be a vegetarian or vegan one to be a yoga teacher, which is a very...
Damn it, I thought that was a prerequisite.
So there you go. It isn't.
Do I have to wear like a little headband and a bandana as well? And,
no.
I suppose that's similar to like people thinking PTs
It's
just
stereotypical.
after...
It's just stereotypical, isn't it? You know, you can drink alcohol if you wanted to. You can be who you want to be. Like I said to you before, it's not about... As long as you're living life with purity, essentially, and following, you know, being a good person, like, it doesn't have to be, you have to be a vegetarian, you can't drink, you know, you can't go out and have a good time. You don't have to sit there constantly meditating. It's just about being able to be a respectful person, following, obviously, the right and wrong way of life, essentially, without having to enforce those kind of restrictions on yourself.
Why do you think there's a stigma around people who are like vegan and vegetarians getting into yoga? What is it about that group of people that is maybe drawn to yoga as well?
I don't know. I don't know if I could answer that, because it's people's choice, isn't it? If they think that aligns, if people who are vegan or vegetarian think that a yoga practice and aligns with their lifestyle, then that's fine, you know. It doesn't matter to me whether someone's vegan or vegetarian or meat eater or not, but I don't know. I don't know why.
There's no insights from like the inside of these classes as to why that group of people are generally more aligned with yoga.
I don't think so.
No.
I don't. Maybe it might be that obviously we're all the same, aren't we? You know, and people who are vegetarian and vegan are more connected to the earth by nature of their way of life, by not eating meat.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what it is, because obviously we are all the same, and that's obviously what we do preach in yoga. It doesn't matter race, ethnicity, whatever.
I think veganism potentially comes, I think most of the time, from like a caring nature in people, and they value life, don't they? And they understand the kind of the what is happening, I guess, across the world with eating meat. And maybe that's something that's internal as well in them. They want to be more in tune with themselves and their bodies, and as human beings, as life forms. That's probably the biggest link, I think, from an outside point of view.
Remind me to send you a podcast with Neil deGrasse Tyson, who sort of challenges that vegan aspect. Not necessarily the health or the dietary side of it, more just like maybe the moral reason for choosing as well. So I don't want to go down this rabbit hole as such, but Neil deGrasse Tyson sort of makes this point about the house that you live in probably costs 1,000 trees to build.
Yeah, well, this is the thing, isn't it? And you could go on forever about this. It's if you're a vegetarian, then are you eating processed fake meat, which actually could be more damaging to the environment than eating meat? Do you know what I mean? So you could go on forever about that. That's the issue.
And I think it depends on how, maybe not so much where your moral compass lies, but where you choose to have a cut off there. And you mentioned like good and bad living earlier. What would your advice be to someone who maybe wants to live better? Because I have this theory, which is everyone knows what to do, but they really struggle to do it depending on their life circumstance. You share that opinion where most people can tell you what they need to do?
Yeah, I think that everyone's got the tools inside them in order to live a life which is both healthy and sustainable, but it's whether people choose to live that life or not. That's the reality of it. So I think that it's a matter of choice. Everyone knows right from wrong. We all know how to eat healthy and to eat unhealthy. We know how to exercise or not to exercise. It's a choice rather than anything else.
That sounds like a mega transferable skill, maybe from your previous like life and career as well. That like it's all about choice and what you do from this point.
It is.
I like that. Yeah, that's fair. Have you got any other questions for Sarah, mate, before I start going down rabbit holes again?
I'll just have a little scroll through. I think most of the ones that I had, we've kind of been over in some degree. So no, pretty much there. What have you got? What rabbit holes are we going down now?
So my mum will be very proud of me for asking this question, because chakras are something that my mum in particular is really interested in. And I don't know where that cut off is. I don't really understand anything like that. I don't know if that bleeds into what you do, but my experience of this is I once did a Pilates class and I laid down, did almost like a bit of a yoga nidra at the end. And I started seeing colours, And I got really worried. I like sat up, I'm like, what's happening? I rung my mum and I'm like, Mum, I could see like colours. Like I started seeing yellow and greens, and she's like, oh, they're just your chakras. And I got so freaked out. And I'm like, Mum, what does this mean? And she can't explain it to me. My mum's very amateur in this stuff. And I'm like, I need to know what just happened there.
I've never heard, that's an interesting one, because I've never heard anyone seeing different colours when they are in that relaxing position. So your chakras are obviously to do with yoga. So obviously Pilates comes from yoga, so that's where they would have linked it in. But your main energy points run up and down your spine. Okay, so from a yoga perspective, this is why your teacher's always asking you to make sure that your spine's nice and long in whatever position you are in, because if your spine's like this, then our energy isn't able to run up and down our spine. So that's the kind of philosophy of energy, and it's called, from a yoga perspective, called our nadis, our different energy paths within our body. But then your chakras are your main kind of portals, is the best way to, like vortexes up and down your spine, and they've all been given different colours essentially. So right down from the root all the way up to the top of your head is a different colour. So there's 8 in total, but then we've got loads more around our body, but we do actually just focus predominantly with the ones on our spine. But no, I've never heard anyone saying, are you sure you weren't fainting there? It sounds like a fainting episode.
Admittedly, it was mainly yellow, and then I think my eyes started flickering, and they were like,
so if it was
whoa, what's
yellow,
going
then
on?
that would mean it would be around your solar plexus, so it's like a power element. So maybe it was that, because if you've done lots of Pilates, then obviously Pilates is generally correlated.
Which is interesting, because my wife was pregnant when we were doing a lot of Pilates. And during that time where we're doing the online stuff, I just remember laying down and my wife says, I always struggle to like do what you do and really try and switch off. And I always remember this one time where I started like seeing yellow again. When I opened my eyes, my wife just stood above me going, it's not working. I can't do it. And obviously she's, heavily pregnant at this point. And I don't know, obviously I've got extra sun points for asking that as well, because my mum will be very proud. But I've just never understood it. And my mum tries to explain it. I'm like, Mum, you're not making sense. I don't understand it.
So there's a crossover now between, some people say that, so bearing in mind obviously yoga's 8,000 years old, that back in those days that people didn't understand the workings of the inside of the body like we do now. So coming up with obviously our chakras up and down our spine. But from a modern medicine point of view now, actually, most of your chakras actually link in with your endocrine system. So a lot of people now say that actually the chakras is actually more of an
hormonal balance. Yeah.
It's endocrine.
I listened to a fascinating podcast years ago, just reminded me as I was listening to you both there, where there was a yoga teacher that said he could create this state of hallucinogenic like high by doing his yoga, and he would have to do it for hours and hours and hours and hours. And I saw a little twinge in your eye there. But he was, the conversation originated from like DMT, dimethyltryptamine, which is like a drug from basically a drug from South America, where people go and have these kind of like hallucinogenic experiences and reset mentally, essentially.
Basically.
Yeah, basically. But a very, very strong one. And he was saying that there's certain people and practice out there where you can achieve that without the drugs. And he was saying very similar to what Brad said, it's hallucinogenic colours and things and seeing things around that aren't there. And we know that exercise can do this for you and movement can do this for you because we get it a lot in like runners. So ultra marathon runners, when they do a certain amount, hallucinate. Like I think it was Cameron Haynes, actually, the ultra marathon runner, that said he was on a trail somewhere and he saw a guy up ahead of him and he was like doing all this stuff around, and he was like, it looked like he was like looking for something, like he'd lost some kind of keys or something. He was like, running down towards him, and as he got closer he said, look at all these bunnies, there's bunnies everywhere. And he looks around, there's no bunnies at all. And it was just because he's been training for so long that the mind had started to play tricks on them. And I think whether it's just the fact that this guy's doing it for so long that it's a fatiguing thing and that's having an effect on his mind, or whether it is the yoga itself, I don't know.
I mean, it could be that they're in like almost like a state of hypnosis if, for example, practicing different forms of pranayama, which is breathwork in yoga, can actually obviously make you feel a bit out there sometimes. It
Okay.
may well be involving breathwork, but I don't know who this bloke is, so I can't comment really.
No, I mean, it was one of those random ones
but
that I
yeah.
listened to that just came up. But I just thought it was an interesting topic of conversation, how he's been doing it for so many years, and then he says he can get to this state with it where he's like hallucinating.
But this is going back to, like I said, like the main kind of focal people in like the history of yoga, like people like Buddha and whatnot. But there's like one in a million people becoming that state.
Yeah, maybe it's a personal
people,
thing.
Yeah, people think that by practicing yoga, all of a sudden they're going to reach enlightenment and they can start to float and all sorts. It's just not reality. The reality of it is, like I said to you at the very beginning, is that we're just trying to become more focused and centered of who we are. It's not about trying to achieve the unachievable. It's just about becoming more aware and being present in our moment, basically.
I'm not sure if it's something you can discuss or talk about, but what is your thoughts around, like, have you had anyone who's been like, look, I'm taking X, Y, and Z. Does it help my yoga? Like, whether it's like weed, for example, whether it's mushrooms, something like that. All these hallucinating things that make you feel more in tune with your body. Like these things will make you feel things in the moment more. Do people come to you ever and say, look, I want to do this thing alongside it? What's your thoughts?
I've never had anyone come and say that to me. Things like CBD and stuff like that, people will take.
Yeah.
But yeah, never anything harder. But doesn't that detract anyway from what we're trying to achieve ourselves? Because if we're trying to use something in order to stimulate something inside of us, then actually we're not connecting with ourselves in the first place in order to make that deeper connection to feel more anyway.
Yeah.
So it kind
So you want to be present.
It detracts.
You want to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It detracts from what we're trying to achieve anyway, surely.
Yeah. So you would definitely be like, look, leave that shit at the door and let's crack
if you want to do that in your own spare time, that's fine by me, but not in my class, basically.
Don't combine the two. Don't combine the two.
Right, leave me a joint at the door that went to Sarah's class.
Yeah, you can leave it outside of the door.
I can't help but feel like for something to be around for like, is it 8,000 years, you say?
7,000-8,000.
That's mad. Like, I can't think of many things like in history that have stood the test of time, like even down to like Stoic philosophy, which is 2,000 years old.
It's deep. So if you think about yoga, and obviously like we say, the first kind of written things down essentially come from around that time, and that's when yoga was discovered. But even things like religion spanning off from that, like things like prayer hands, which is now Christianity, which initially was Hinduism. This is the thing about, I don't want to get into religion, but the argument about religion, that actually all came from the same place, and everything's just kind of spanned off and people have taken their own view on it.
Yeah.
And it all stems from this same period of time.
If you study religion, you study a lot of the practices of like yoga and right back to ancient times, there's so much intertwined.
It's the same.
We've branched off so significantly.
Yeah.
We've got in today's world, it's like little tribes, like your tribe is your religion kind of thing. But again, we won't go too heavily into that, but it is all interlaced. There's a lot of original points of contact for that stuff. And it's funny how it weaves its way actually into some of the stuff we do. Like when people go, what the hell is a burpee? Why is a burpee like so good? And I tell them the origins of a burpee.
I don't know the origin of a burpee.
Origin of burpee is from yoga.
Is it?
From yoga, yeah.
There you go. I didn't even know that.
Mr. Burpee was the guy who invented burpees, and he was a practitioner of a certain type of yoga, but it was more dynamic. He wanted to maybe bring in, like you did, like maybe like the weight side of things, but wanted to make it more intense, wanted to kind of get people's heart rate going a little bit more. He studied under some quite famous yoga teacher over in India, and then he wanted to branch out to do his own thing, and then he developed this technique and this exercise where you would just put your hands on the floor, stretch your feet out, jump back in, and then you would reach high to the sky. And there was all kind of some logic behind it initially, but then that became one of the hardest parts of his class, and something they would do continuously for like minutes at a time because it was like so significant in his program. And then that just got adopted by people outside of yoga. Oh, that's a really hard exercise to do. And over time, again, it's just become like a staple fitness exercise, a burpee, hasn't it?
Yeah. Well, you do lots of planks in yoga as well. Oh my God. People don't realise that. You've got to have a really strong core and shoulders
100%.
if you are practising regularly. Yeah.
Pigeon pose for me is my worst. Whenever we go down to like a pigeon pose style in yoga, I was always like, my hips do not move that way. And everyone else was like down to the floor, glutes touching. I was like above everyone. I was standing up. I'm like, this isn't right.
Yeah, but you must be doing it the right way, because people, when they do pigeon pose, often roll the hips, and actually you're better off coming higher and keep your hips neutral. So it's an ego pose.
Yeah.
It's very
you
much
can
an
kind of
ego.
line your side in the pigeon
it's
pose,
ego,
can't you?
Complete ego.
Yeah. Okay.
Fair. I'm really curious to know any big success stories. I know you've been in this space for a long time now. Have you got any clients who stand out? I know you said Joe's pretty good, but he's just a natural athlete anyway, isn't he? But yeah, is there any success stories who maybe people you've helped who have made absolute leaps and bounds from where they were, whether it's from a pain management, whether it's from a lifestyle, holistic point of view? Does anyone spring to mind?
So I've actually, I'm still teaching this man actually, and I feel really quite proud of him, to be honest. A man came to me about 3 months ago, actually at the station gym, was really down in the dumps, and said, I don't really know what to do. I've been told I need a hip replacement. And he couldn't move. He could hardly move. He couldn't stand up without assistance. He had to kind of roll onto one side. I had to pull him up rather than standing on his own. And in the space of a few months, he's really kind of got to the stage now where his mobility's fully recovered. We're into working now into his strength as well in his hip. So he stands out for me at the moment, but it's still a learning journey for him as well. We're still not quite there. Ish was a really good one. He wasn't my client, but you know Ishi at the gym?
Yes, yeah.
So Ishi snapped. Do you know Ishi?
Yeah, no, Ishi.
Yeah. So when Ish snapped both of his quads, did you see that video?
I've seen the video.
Awful.
Yeah.
And he started to come to yoga after he snapped his quads, and I was horrified. I was like, please tell me that you've been cleared, first of all, by your consultant, that you can come to yoga. And he's like, I'm fine. And literally, he couldn't squat. He literally had no range of motion, obviously, because of his operation. And he's back squatting now. So it wasn't just me with Ish, but the fact that he continued to come to yoga and really got a buzz for it again and continued with it was really nice to see as well. But I've had loads of people in similar situations as well, and it's just really nice to see. I've had people who've trained with me for the last 3 years who have then gone on to teach themselves. I've actually got a bloke at Bannatynes who they'd always had quite sedentary yoga at Bannatynes, and then I turned up and everyone got really frightened because I was teaching vinyasa and power yoga, and they were like, this is just not what we've been having over the last few years. Anyway, there was this man who was really keen on Ashtanga yoga, and we started practicing on a regular basis, and he then went off to do his yoga teacher training. And now, as I drop my classes at Bannatynes to do other things, he's now taken over my classes, so he's teaching.
Amazing. Wow.
So when I kind of go back to his classes, which is really good.
In a way, you're still teaching those classes, because it's like having yoga grandchildren now.
Well, I didn't want to go back to. I said I am going to come to your classes, but I'm going to give it a while. And I felt quite nervous for me to go back, because I thought a lot of pressure's on here. But it's fine.
Yeah, I always say like it's such a joy when you help people achieve something, and you can play a small part or a big part, but I think that reflection of reminder of why we do it. We interviewed Kieran Wake on Tuesday, and he said something similar, like you just need to remember why you're doing it. And is there ever any days where you go, what have I done? Like I had this career in the past and now I'm here.
No
looking back.
No, not at all. No, as I said to you, I'm very focused. I wanted to make the decision, and that was it. If it doesn't work, if in another 5 years' time I think this is enough, then that's it. I'm open-minded with that. But at the moment, I'm loving every moment of it, and it's not going to change.
Amazing. Obviously, me and Ryan, we do this every day. We are coaches. We work with people every day, as do you. Is there anything that me and Ryan could do to help the masses, maybe different strings to our bow, to, I suppose, help people in whether it's mobility, flexibility, mindfulness, anything like that? I
think you guys obviously are really good anyway. I'm sure you'll have like mobility included in all your kind of training programs with your clients. And I think as personal trainers, that's what we need to do. We need to make sure that as helping people get stronger or losing weight or whatever the goal is, we also need to make sure that they move well. Because it's all right aesthetically, for example, if we build muscles, but actually if we then can't move well, then there's no longevity in our bodies. We all want to get to the age of 80 and be able to get out of our chair without assistance, and things like mobility training are going to make that happen. So just bringing in mobility training.
I'm glad you've said that. And it's something I clocked quite early on because I'm a bit of a perfectionist by nature. So when I see people doing things wrong, I'm like, I don't want you to do it like that. I want you to do it my way. And what is stopping you doing it my way? It's just because you can't do it.
Exactly.
Your joints aren't open.
Yeah, so
your muscles aren't flexible enough.
And then making sure that then you...
Yeah. And when people come to you and say, I've squatted for years, never been able to get past a certain weight, we assess the squat and you're like, just because you're so rigid in one pattern of movement, we need to open you right out and get you flowing with that squat. We need to get you body weight squatting ass to grass before we can do anything else. And it's the stuff people hate to hear, actually, isn't it? People hate to hear that, I've got to go away now and stretch, and especially blokes as well, who are weightlifters.
Yeah.
They just hate having to do all that stuff. But the benefits to the way they even sit and the way they even move, the way they get off the sofa, the way they can play around with the kids, it all just is so interlinked. And then the ultimate thing for them is, right, I can go and squat more.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I think, especially from a male point of view, it's an ego thing, because men especially want to be able to go to the gym and prove that they can lift up a certain way. But if the technique's absolutely terrible, they're going to hurt themselves long term anyway.
Yeah. So many people do. So statistically, deadlifts are the worst one because people just aren't using their legs. They're not sure how to. And it all goes into the back, and then, rest is history.
I think it's trying to reframe definition of progress as well. Like, there's more than one way to progress.
Exactly.
It's not just more weight on the bar. It is, if somebody's squatting, like we were joking the other day, Sarah, about just having sugar muscles and just look great, but how do we move?
Exactly.
What's going on here? And I think someone adding 2 or 3 inches lower into the squat, that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like, you can then add weight to that and load to that. I always think a failure to address that is basically encouraging dysfunction without sounding too harsh. If you're allowing someone to get really strong in a partial range of motion.
But you're lying to yourself, aren't you?
Yeah.
When you're lying to yourself, you're lying to your client, because you can say, wow, you've just achieved whatever. But the reality of it is that you might have done, but in what context? You just need to make sure that, in my opinion, like I say, you start from the basics in terms of mobility. If people aren't moving right, and long term, then obviously it's going to help them.
Are there any standards that you've got from a mobility point of view? Is there anything that you believe every human on the planet should be able to do?
Well, yeah, I think people should be able to. I always work with my clients on squat depth, so I try and get them, like you say, near enough ass to grass. I do. That's the thing for me, because if not, then like their ankle stability, the knees, the hips, there's an issue. Even like down to the feet as well, and whether the feet are turning out or not. So for me, when I look at people and I personal train them especially, I always look at the squat, because that can be very telling. The other thing is this as well in a squat.
Yep.
So having a long back as well. So it's everything. It's almost kind of looking at the whole body in one.
I think the squat is such a telling exercise for that, isn't it? Even things like, there's an exercise I do in all my movement screenings, which is a Z press, and it's just such I call it like a diagnostic move. Like, there's no hiding. Like, if your thoracic mobility is crap, I'm going to see it.
Yeah.
If you're not strong overhead, I'm going to see it. And
a lunge as well. A lunge is a good one to test people with. That's the other one I do. There's no ankle strength there whatsoever or whatever.
Get them in locomotion. So we want, get them in locomotion. Sarah, you've been amazingly generous with your time so far. I always like to bring things home with a bit of a question, which requires quite a lot of reflection. So I'll give you a bit of time to think if you want. It's the 3 words question.
Okay.
Which is, you've been through a lot in your parenting experience so far. You went through a lot in your pregnancy, and then obviously retraining in your career. Is there 3 words that you could use to describe your parenting experience so far?
Oh God. Challenging. Rewarding. And exciting.
Challenging, rewarding, and exciting. I think that's fair. I'm starting to see some patterns now. Yeah, I think the challenge is definitely one that pops up quite a bit, doesn't it? Yeah. Which is nice, because I agree. Not every challenge is bad.
No, exactly. It doesn't mean that's not a negative.
Yeah.
A challenge can be good as well as bad.
Love that.
I think that rounds it off nicer, because your whole career has been about challenging you and like your happiness, and I guarantee that's something you're probably going to pass on to your I keep saying little one, but she's 11. She's not.
Yeah, she's
Your
like
mid-height one.
Preteen.
I'm guaranteed that's something you're going to pass down to her as well, and
Hopefully.
let her be like, do what makes you happy, follow those dreams, and don't let people dictate for you how you want to feel and what you want to do. For sure.
If people want to check out what you do, if they want to ping you a message or sign up to retreats or your day events, where could people find you, Sarah?
On Instagram, so it's Sarah Haynes _yoga. You can find you on your page as well.
Yeah, you are very, very good on Instagram as well.
Oh, thank you.
I have to admit, I hear and see the work that Sarah puts in when we're in that like community room upstairs on a Monday and she's editing reels and syncing up the audio as well.
Yeah, we had a really good one the other day where the audio synced up really well, didn't it? I got
really good.
Massive kudos from you for that.
I could hear it in background. I'm like, she's syncing that to perfection. that is decent. I like that.
It's like a little editing suite up there now, isn't it?
It is class. It's class. Should we leave it there, mate?
Absolutely. And I guess there's probably a shout out for us. We don't do this enough. So if you want to follow the Fit Dads on Instagram, we are at Fit Dads Podcast. Or at the Fit Dads. Is it?
At Fit Dads.
At Fit. I can't remember it. That's not a good sign.
I'm going to check now.
We don't want to send out the wrong one. I'm pretty sure it's at Fit Dads Podcast.
That's
it is correct. Like, subscribe, share with anyone who you think might benefit from this. And other than that, we will see you guys on the next one.
See you soon. Thank you, Sarah.
Sarah, awesome.
Appreciate you.
Well done today.
Thank
Love
you.
that. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.